Welcome to this live stream. Sewing Pattern Detective is back. I'm going to investigate another beautiful vintage pattern with you. This time we've got a 1950s Butterick pattern, and I haven't actually seen the found the envelope. I found this from a random Pinterest image. It's from the Butterick catalogue from 1950, and the model number is 516765C. So you can always have a look yourself. But of course, our whole point is that we're going to try to work out how to draft your own version of this, and also how to adapt it to suit your figure, your style, whatever you want to. So by finding out how something is drafted, we can then invent it for ourselves. So I'm going to give you tutorials you need along the way. There are some you can use from YouTube, and there's also some you can use from my membership. So I'm going to let you know which one to use. I'm going to have a look at the dress first, because I think that's really pretty, and I'm also being a bit selfish about this. I'm going to tell you in a second. And then we're going to look at the coat. This is actually much easier than it looks, which is always great. And I originally thought this was late 40s, but it is 1950s, so it's right on the border between 1940s, more utilitarian, rationing, all that sort of stuff, and then of course I think new look is just around that time as well. So you're right at the border. And hello Laura, and hello Rebecca. Good morning Laura. We are already in the afternoon, just about 1:30. So you I just had my lunch, and now I'm ready to do look at some beautiful vintage clothes. So let's get a new page on my magazine, on my book, if I have it. And yeah, I'd love to know what you think of this dress. I know Laura liked it. Oh yes, I've tried to put a YouTube poll out to find out which one you wanted. I had 3 options, and it wouldn't let me post any pictures. So I put out on the membership, and this one came out tops. I quite like it for simplicity, but it's got lots of clever, it's got just enough details to be interesting, but it hasn't got the volume of the your new look. It still has this very variable style. Oh, hello Jan, lovely to have you as well. Good afternoon, I hope you're doing well. Nice of you to join me, because I know you've been really busy with your learning how to do digital patterns. And I know Laura, you saw it. I don't know, Rebecca, you've seen it on the membership. I put out the avatar bias cut woman has made for me, and I'm going to put that on Instagram as well, on YouTube. But it's sort of quite amazing and slightly scary what technology can do for us nowadays. And I'm glad you like it, Rebecca. I just think I love the colors. You know what, I would actually love to see what the fabric looks like in real life. So there's always a problem with stuff like that. With the pattern envelope, you get more information. Here we can only guess. So I would imagine it's summer coat. And it's probably cotton dress and cotton coat, because of course the coat has a facing made out of the same fabric as the dress. So probably both sort of medium weight. Oh, and hello Effie, lovely to have you here as well. Yes, we're just discussing fabric choices for this dress and coat. So I would imagine, yeah, medium weight dressmaking fabric, not too lightweight. And I always find fabric choices the hardest, to tell you the truth. And I always know what I want in my head, and then I either can't afford it or I can't find it. And of course nowadays so much is online, which is fantastic, but then you always have to send out for all the samples and hope it's the right color, and quite often the samples are quite small, so it's really hard to work out, you know, how will it drape and stuff. And Rebecca is saying agree that it's slightly scary, and that is referring of course to, yes, the 3D digital pattern cutting, which is the opposite of what we're doing today. And I think the digital side of it has amazing properties for trying things out, you know, especially really conceptual style. You can try things out over a computer, you can drape it, you can put it on somebody. And of course, for production, it's really good because you can check everything is still the same. Production all looks the same with different body types, different sizes as well. But I like putting on clothes. I like on paper, working it out, seeing exactly how much it is on the right scale, being able to compare to my own body, and then putting on the garment and seeing how I actually feel against my own body. Because I think we all are individuals. So even you know how we like our armholes cut. Yes, there's rules, but then there's also like, what do we do? Are we back, shoulders, forwards? Are we walking Great Danes like Laura? So we have to have really strong shoulder neck muscles. So there's always different functions and preferences, which I think there's still room for us to work in the real life and create real things. Anyway, let's have a look at this style. So it's a Butterick. I don't know whether it's actually was available as a individual pattern or whether it was just from a catalogue or magazine, you know, which came as patterns. But what we have is a really pretty dress, and we can see the back view as well. So this is actually a fitted dress by the look of it. Of course, a few weeks ago we had a dress which was completely A-line, so had no fitting, and when all fitting was done through the belt. In this case, we have got a fitted dress, and I just want to zoom in quickly. So I would, wearing a belt, which means we can't tell whether it's got a waist seam or not. However, if you look below the belt, we have a paneled skirt. So a 6-panel skirt, 3 panels at the front, 3 panels at the back. And if you look above the belt, you can see twin darts, which are some of my favorite darts. So that would indicate as the darts are not identical above and below, we have a waist seam. And that's what you do when you look at images like that. You think, what clues can I find? All this sort of stuff to work out how it's actually made. Let me try to zoom out of it so I can see my page again. There we go. So we now know there is a waist seam. It means you can still, if you have a torso block or dress block, you can use that. You just add a waist seam. Alternatively, you use your bodice block for that, and then you can either use your skirt block, or alternatively, I would just draft my 6-panel skirt, which is on YouTube, which takes less than 10 minutes, and you literally draft the 6-panel skirt to fit your new waist. So what we've got is twin darts, and that's basically where all your shaping comes from. So our original bust and waist shaping is converted into double darts. However, we've also, if you look above, we've also got these pleats. So this is where knowing how the pattern looks like can be really helpful on a pattern envelope, but we don't. So we have to sort of make a decision. So either half of our bust and waist shaping, let me get my block. The reason I'm pausing is, so if you're quite small busted, as I am, you would properly convert both your bust and your waist dart into twin darts here, because it's the there isn't that much volume as such. And then you can either add a little bit of volume and do 2 extra tucks, or alternatively what you can also do is, of course, split your waist dart into 2, and that becomes your twin darts. And for your bust dart, you split that into 2 tucks. And tucks are literally darts which aren't stitched shut all the way to the waist, to the bust point, or to the dart point. So you got 2 options. You might do a hybrid, because these are quite small tucks, so they're probably maybe, it might not even be a centimeter deep. It might be sort of half a centimeter deep or something. It doesn't look like there's that much volume. So I would make them half a centimeter to 1 centimeter deep, which means then whatever much you need, however much shaping you can pivot from your dart into the tucks, you use up, and whatever is left over, you can pivot into your darts at the waist. Or alternatively, you can literally just do slash lines and make these purely ornamental, but that adds a little bit of volume, so the dress doesn't look that tight. But it depends on your body shape and stuff like that. So the curvier you are, so the bigger the difference between your bust and your waist, the more shaping you will have to play around with for making both your darts here and also your double pleats. So it's sort of where we already like interpreting basic drafting methods for our own uses. And if you wanted to draft, is what you can use. We've got on YouTube, I've got French, and I will put them in the description below. There's French twin darts, and you can literally use that tutorial, but instead of making them French, you make them waist darts. And then you can do the same for the shoulder, and you just pivot into darts, but then you just don't stitch them shut, because that's all what a tuck is. So this is all our dart shaping. And I think this is where the more you sort of understand about pattern, about your own figure, about how patterns work, and about designing, where you can make really informed decisions which work for you. So this is a great style if you are really fully busted, because you're literally splitting all your waist and dart shaping into 4 different darts. So instead of our normal 2 darts, we've got 4 darts. So it leaves you lots of room for fitting it and moving volume, so you don't get something too pointy. It spreads out the volume really nicely. But again, for somebody like me, the double tucks add a nice bit of volume around the bust area, so they actually enhance what I have. The neckline is really easy, so you can see it's either just your crew neck and then with a keyhole, and a keyhole is literally just your neck split in, and then I've actually drawn it too curvy. I think theirs is literally touching, so it's literally just a slit, and all you do is add seam allowance, and that is always quite tricky to stitch because you're stitching to a point. So an option for making it easier is always to have it slightly curved at the bottom, or alternatively you can put a seam down, but that of course sort of would ruin the lines of your bodice. And what I do, if it's more casual, I do this method where I literally do it like square, and then I do a little tap on top. But I think that'd be far too utilitarian for this dress, which is a very pretty dress. Then we have got shoulder pads, and they of course are completely optional whether you want to do it or now. I have actually just filmed a tutorial for the membership for the website for how to adapt your any pattern or any block for a shoulder pad, so you can do it. I have got quite broad shoulders, so I always, if I put a shoulder pad on, it doesn't quite work, but it's sort of, you know, it gives you a 1940s look if you have maybe more sloping shoulders. And of course your sleeves will be the same size, not like mine. But the sleeve is a really basic sleeve. You can actually see it's got a volume, so it would just be your basic, the basic satin sleeve. And I always quite like these sort of vintage pattern because they're quite straightforward. So what we have is basically your basic bodice, and then we just do double darts and double tucks with our darts, but then the rest is quite straightforward. And of course the neck can be either just a crew neck, or you can make it slightly grown on. If you want to make it grown on, there is a tutorial on the website, and there's also some 2 vintage versions of that for Claire McCardle. Then once you've done that, I will make the toile and check just the fit of the bodice. And let's have a quick look at the back. I think that back is very straightforward. Yeah, you can see the back is literally just your basic bodice. So, you know, it's basically made not to be seen as such. Let me just check what the bodice on the... Oh, sorry, this is actually the coat. But again, the dress, what they've done is... I'm actually going to quickly draw it out for you, but that's, you know, that's a personal design choice again. What they've done with the back is they've done a little bit of, and actually, let me double check something. I think from the back you can see, I think it might be very slightly grown on, or a very tight crew neck. But the back, all I've done, so the waist darts are exactly the same. And then they've just, instead of having our shoulder dart, normal position, they pivoted it. And I think it's just for a little bit of difference. And you can also see what we haven't got is an access point on our neckline. So before I do a skirt, how do you get in and out of this dress? So the back, there's no center back seam, so therefore there's no zip there. We also know it's 1950, so it probably will have a zip or buttons or hook and eye. It won't have an invisible zip yet, most likely. We know we have a keyhole, and a keyhole is normally an indication that you pull this dress over your head. So I would imagine that this has to be big enough to get your head through. So what you would do is you measure your back neck, and then you measure your front neck, and you can literally just measure on the edge of it, and that will give you indication of whether you can get in or out. And then we would have a opening at the side, which nowadays I would just do as a zip. And then what you can do is that you, on your waistband on the inside, you put a little waist stay, which is just a piece of a grosgrain, and then it has hook and eyes where the zip is, and it just helps it support it. On a style like that, you probably don't need it, but it just, the belt basically does a similar function. They're putting it on the outside, but you can also have it on the inside. And then all we have to do is make our 6-panel skirt. So that's, I think it's called 10 minutes draft. It's a 6-panel skirt. And it hasn't got that much volume, which is quite interesting, which is why I thought this was 40s. And you can see it's split into 3 panels like this, and they line up exactly with the inside of our double twin darts. So if you want to use a 6-panel method, where we of course splitting our waist measurement into 3, then you have to make sure that when you draw on your twin darts, this is where, like, when you have to sort of, even this is really helpful before you draft something, because when you know how everything has to relate, you have to make sure that distance is 1/3 of your whole front. So that will give you an indication how to design your double darts at the beginning. And then if you, as long as you do that, you can literally just draft 1 panel. And volume wise, I'm literally going to hold up, very scientific, I'm going to hold up my ruler. I think this is roughly double the waist. So if your waist, yes, that'd be quite a nice amount. So if your waist was 70, that would be 140 at the bottom, which gives you a really nice flare. So this is double of that. And that's how you can sort of work out. You could actually, you know, at the bottom of a dress, if you got a curvy hem drawn in, you could literally measure the length of a curve and then compare it to a top. But of course, this is also an artistic interpretation. So this is an illustration, which means I'm probably taking a few liberties to make it, you know, look. And we had it with the belted in dress from, I think it was 3 weeks ago. The way I've drawn it didn't really show how much volume you would have belted in at the waist. Okay, let's have a quick look at the coat. Oh, actually, one last thing. Of course, on the back, again, you're going to do a 6-panel skirt, but you have to cut different panel. If you do the 6-panel skirt, we just cut 1 panel, and each panel is 1/6 of our oval waist. However, for this dress, we are of course using our front bodice and back bodice, and they are on average, if I can find my back bodice, our front and back bodice basically have a different waist. As you can see, they're slightly longer and shorter, even with the darts, you know. So normally our back waist is tight, is smaller than the front waist. So what you would do again, you you make sure that this distance is 1/3, which then means you got 3/3, which means you can draft a single panel for the back. So you basically just, all you have to draft for the skirt is 1 panel, and then again the same for the back, and they're the same length, and you can again, you can either make them all exactly the same width at the bottom, which means your back panels come out a little bit more, or you can make the back double your measurement at the top again, which means your back is slightly smaller. It'd be only like 1 centimeter to difference, but 1 centimeter to difference at the top will make a difference, make it very difficult to fit this, while at the bottom, because we have so much volume anyway, that won't matter as much. I would probably keep the bottom the same on all of them, so the front volume is the same at the back. Okay, let's have a look at our coat. So of course there, the coat would fit on top, which means you would probably add a little bit of ease. So if you're using your basic bodice block for both, I would literally, I'm just looking, has this got a dart? It must have a dart. Yes, this has got a underbust dart, and then it actually's got a dart here, which I find a bit strange. I would move my dart because you don't want it to be visible. What I would do is, if you have an overcoat block, use that. But what I do when I want a block to be a little bit more relaxed, measure, you know, a similar style you have if you have like a light coat or something. And then I tend to just amend my pattern, which is that I normally basically do a mixture of a full bust adjustment. So I basically do a cutting line down here like this, and a cutting line down here like this, and then I just open the pattern up a little bit. And I also normally make the armhole a bit bigger, so again I just literally do a cut line there and open it 1/2 centimeter. You have to be quite gentle with that. It's literally 1/2 centimeter at a time. And I do the same to the sleeve. So you just basically, you grade it up a little bit. Of course, if you know how to grade, you can do it as well. You're basically just making your pattern a bit overall a bit bigger overall. We want to keep the shoulder most of the time the same, which means we just need a little bit of a bigger armhole, which you can do by just like dropping it a bit and making it a little bit wide at the side. That will give you a bigger armhole, and when you do the same changes on the sleeves, and when you also just open this area a bit more. So it's sort of one of those things where you can use fitting knowledge from sewing patterns to do your adaptations. But once you've done that, it's a really simple style. I'm going to draw in half so I can show you how the collar works. Again, now this is interesting. Let me have a look where we can, on the back, where we can see what it looks like. Oh, we're showing it with the belt. Now I think they've probably put another seam at the waist. But with a belt like that, with a coat like that, you could actually cut it out of one piece. But because this is like a vintage pattern, they have probably done it like the same as the skirt underneath. Just see how much volume it is. Yeah, a similar amount of volume to a dress, because of course it has to go out. Apologies. So you can do it like that, or alternatively, you could cut it as one piece. Okay. Then they've just done a dart, single dart, and then, as I said, they have done this funny dart here, which peeks out just past the sort of lapel, and you can see the lapel is fixed down. So I will actually, on my bodice, this is the ideal position, but they're making this slightly bigger anyway, like just so it can fit on top of a dress, a few mils maximum. I would literally move this slightly in, or make my lapel slightly wider so it's hidden. So I think what I would do is have my dart just a little bit moved in, and then of course our lapel goes on like this, and I would sort of do it that it literally just, as long as it touches it, it's supposed to be straight. And then we've got our 3 buttons. So this is how it looks like. But of course what it does is, this isn't grown on one. So what it actually is like that. So it's a grown on piece. So the pattern piece actually looks like that. And then you just fold it over to get your lapel. And with a style like that, it works like a shawl collar, but we're not adding a collar at the back. So you can use the same sort of drafting starting point for that. And then of course you just add your facing, which is how we end up with a contrast facing. So it's really straightforward, which is always nice. And then the belt just goes on top and holds it all together. So there might be a little hook and eye underneath, or it might be completely open when you close it only with the belt. And then it's got a really basic sleeve. And I'm just thinking I would make my coat a little bit bigger, but you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually use the same pattern for both of them, because it doesn't really is it showing her wearing underneath? Yes, but if it's made of single cotton, you can probably get away with wearing one dress on top of the other. So I might have literally just added a little bit of, like if you add 0.5 centimeter to the side seam, that actually makes the whole pattern 2 centimeters wider, and then again that makes the sleeve wider. So they might have literally done it as simply as that just your top pattern is slightly wider than the bottom. So that might be a good starting point, because splitting it all up can be a bit confusing if you're not used to it, because we only need basically enough room to put it on top. And I will imagine this is a really simple summer construction where it might be lined or it might be unlined, because the cuff is of course separate facing again, but that can be stitched to the sleeve on the inside. And then again, the facing could just be hand finished on the inside, so you don't really need a lining. This is where you then quite often find out through in description of how it would have been done, but of course then you can also just decide for yourself how you would do it. And for the volume, I would do the same as I did for the dress on the skirt, but of course here we haven't got a panel skirt. We have probably what would be maybe it's basically a flared skirt, so you can literally start out. You can either maybe decide, oh, I want the whole style overall to be a half circle, in which case your whole front would be a quarter circle. So you can just draft a quarter circle skirt to the measurement of your coat, for example, or you can just add some slash line and open it up. There's, you know, options to suit you. You normally have, you don't always need the same volume on the top on the coat as you need on the dress, because quite often we want a slightly more streamlined coat, don't we? But let's have a look. If I zoom out, there we go. I wonder, sorry, this is only thing which doesn't really work that well with it. I think it's probably a similar amount on the skirt as it is on the coat. So you can see both the skirts of the coat and the dress have a similar amount of volumes. So you can literally just measure what the full hem width is on your dress, and then you transfer to the coat. If you want matching outfit, you might just want to make one of those. And of course, that technique of adding a collar, you know, you could put it on a jacket, you could even have it on a blouse, and there's lots of ways of doing it. But this is my sort of investigation of this 1950s Butterick pattern. I hope you found it helpful. Oh, I wanted to tell you quickly before I finish. The reason I chose this is because I drafted myself a new grown on sleeve dress pattern, and I've been not completely happy with how I designed the front, because originally I was going to do a gusset, which is like a statement gusset, which I love, but it didn't look quite right with me, and I've got quite a broad build up. It's quite a flat and square, so I saw this, so oh, that's a really good solution. So that's again, all I'm going to use from this is a double twin darts, and then I'm going to have a neckline I already have like that, and then I'm going to use the tucks to sort of balance it out, and where the top tuck is, I'm actually going to make it into raglan seam. So that's where you can look at something vintage like that and pick up the designs which work for you. So the overall fit of the dress was similar to the one I want to make, which is a real easy to wear daytime dress. I wouldn't do a shoulder pads, and I wanted the grown on sleeve style because I found they're really comfortable for every day there. So I saw that, I thought, oh, this is exactly the design which suits a garment like that, even with the sleeves are differently constructed. So that's what I like about sort of investigating, working out how things work, but when you can use details and make something which is completely you. So again, you could just use a top and make it a straight top, but have this really nice double tuck detail for design. And hello Ginger, and I said thank you so much, and let me know, Ginger, Ginger Cat I think, isn't it? You put a comment last time about a pattern you liked, and I wasn't 100% sure which one it is, so if you let me know whether it is the check dress with sleeves or without sleeves, and I will put this on the list for this one. Oh, and hello Erin, yes, enjoy the replay. And Rebecca says, I can't wait to see the dress. Yes, I can show you a pattern. I put on a twirl on Instagram about maybe 2 months ago. But the longer I do this, the more, I think when you first discover pattern cutting, you're really like, it's just such an amazing skill. You just do stuff and you love it and you make more. I'm at the moment, I go through stages where I just can't make my mind up, and this is what this is addressed to. I've made 3 versions, and I wasn't just cut the pattern, which doesn't take that long. But you can see I've done lots of scribbled designs of what I'm thinking. And this is what I'm at the moment. You can see how that would work really well with this dress. But I did the double French darts on the side. But I think it would look better in the waist. And then, as you can see, I got a raglan, and if I angle it slightly different, that's become one of my tucks. But yes, this had lots of sort of scribbled ideas. So which is sometimes happens, and I think that if you're not 100% sure, that's normally a sign. I've made the trial, I wasn't 100% happy, so I just left it for a while, because I don't want to make something which I'm not 100%, because the whole point of pattern cutting is that it's not like going to a shop and you find the second best. You get exactly what you want, even if it takes, you know, sometimes you have to have a bit break. And at some point I even thought, oh, I can make like a La Cigale style, but it's just like, oh, I want this to be really, you know, when you sometimes think, ooh, I can sort of do La Cigale Dior, but then it's sort of like, I want this dress, I love it, it's really Deva, it's elegant, it's classy, but you can also imagine it wearing it every day and all day long and being comfortable, and that's what I want, like a sort of design which is interesting enough, has its of vintage influence, but you can put it on and you don't, it's not too tight, you know, you can leave a little bit of ease in the waist, have a slightly elasticated back so you can have your lunch comfortably, but still make it really wearable and pretty at the same time. So yes, I'm hoping, Rebecca, I will actually now, I know I found my inspiration, I will make this and then find a fabric to suit as well. But that's it from me for today. I'll be back next week, and then I'll be taking off Easter, the Easter week. So I'll be back with second week of Easter. But nice to see you all. Thank you for joining me, and see you soon. Bye bye.